I'm Dan Small. Whether you like deer for their inherent beauty, elusive nature, and wariness, as challenging quarry and a fine source of free-range protein, or, for many of us, all of the above, then stay tuned. We'll share the latest forecast for the area where you hunt, talk with successful hunters, hear about threats to the future of deer hunting, and share other important news for all who care about the white-tailed deer. Welcome to Deer Hunt Wisconsin 2018. What is it about the white-tailed deer that fuels such passion among people of all ages and from all walks of life?
I'm going to continue to pile on different experience and opportunities, and to me, that's the most exciting part about it.
They're big, they're beautiful, they're elusive. You can chase the white-tailed deer for an entire lifetime and still not know all that there is to know about these amazing animals.
I'll always be optimistic about deer hunting in Wisconsin. It's something it's so much a part of my blood, so much a part of my family's history, the Wisconsin history. I have a hard time thinking it's ever going to go away.
Natural resources agencies all across America are coordinating with each other and partners to recruit adult hunters as well as youth. And Wisconsin is a leader in this effort, as our next guest explains.
R3 is recruitment, retention, reactivation of hunters, anglers, and shooting sports participants. We in Wisconsin have seen a decline in the number of hunters over the past 10 to 12 years. Now, it's not a steep decline yet at this point, but it is going down, and it's expected to go down a lot steeper in the future. Mentoring new hunters or recruiting new hunters, training new hunters is really an important facet for all of us who are current hunters, because it really relates back to our relevancy, our participation in the ecosystem, our participation in conservation. People need to learn more about that, and they love to learn about conservation funding. They love to learn about the other species you're going to see out there. They love to learn about watching the woods wake up. But all of these things, if we can pass them along to new people, this is going to increase our relevancy and sustain our heritage as hunters. Deer hunting is really a big hook when it comes to the big protein piece that's walking around on the landscape. If you kill a deer, you've got meat for a year, or you've got meat for a long time. So people are very interested in deer hunting from a food perspective, but they're also really interested in the experience that they get seeing what other animals might be walking around out there, turkeys, other kinds of wildlife. You have a coyote run through. These are all the great things that deer hunters already understand, and that people who might be curious about hunting are really interested in finding out and learning about, in addition to the skills that include butchering, preparation of meat, field dressing, and then the hunting skills and the shooting skills. So for all the hunters out there who are thinking that they want to participate in R3, recruitment, retention, and reactivation, one very key thing to make sure is that your experience, be it hunting, fishing, deer, turkey, bluegills, whatever it is connected to another experience, so that new participants don't only get the one and done, but they get to go to a bluegill fishing event, they get to go to a deer hunting event, they get to go to a turkey hunting event, they get to go to a pheasant hunting event or program, so they have all these various skills and trainings in their back pocket. Because if you think about it, when we started hunting, it was not a one and done deal, that's for sure. We had a mentor who took us along again and again and again until we had the tools and skills and we felt confident enough to keep going on our own. So that's a very key thing to remember, is that make sure your programs or your activities are connected to another experience for novice hunters. One of the big traditions with deer hunting is the deer camp. Getting people together, hanging out, having some good food, good conversation the night before or during the deer camp, and then actually going on the hunt. And that kind of tradition is really something that people are very interested in finding out more about. And we're finding that to be an effective recruitment tool.
Longtime hunters, including some who have stopped hunting, are getting re-engaged because they want to pass along their knowledge to future generations. And they're discovering that beyond the excitement of the hunt and the savory mealtime fruits of their labor, that there are additional benefits for wildlife, hunters, and conservation. I'm talking about the joys and rewards of being a mentor.
I enjoyed mentoring my kids so much as they grew up, and now that they're grown up, I felt there was a void, and I wanted to reach out to that next youth that I didn't know, or that child of a friend that I knew didn't hunt, fish, or trap. So I invited them along and took them out, and just seeing the joy on their face, being able to experience nature, conservation at its best, it was rewarding like you wouldn't believe.
Mentoring is a big part of what we're talking about here, and it's an important part of what we're doing. It's also rewarding for the people who do it, the people who take the time to mentor. It's a very personal situation that takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication, and I think there are rewards on both ends for the adult and the person being mentored. They both are going to learn, and they're both going to have a good time, and because of that, I think that person being mentored is going to catch on, take an interest, and be involved in the outdoors for the rest of their life.
9-year-old Sierra Moore hunted with her mom and dad this year during the youth deer hunt. Here's that story.
We all three went into the blind before light, and I sat till about 9:30, 10 o'clock, and I decided, I'm going to get out, I'm going to go help my son, and I got back into the stand about 3 o'clock, and they hadn't seen much, and so we sat for another hour and a half probably before we started to see some action. And that first deer came out, and it was a good young deer, but for a kid like that, it's an awesome opportunity to give them some experience. So we were going to shoot that deer. Thankfully, it took as long as it did for that deer to kind of square up to us, and all of a sudden my wife said, "Jared, there's another buck. There's a bigger buck. There's another one in the woods." And I kind of peeked around the corner, and Sierra couldn't see him yet. And I said, "That's the one you want to shoot." And that was a big deer. I mean, I got excited. Finally, Sierra could see him, and you could hear her breathing start to pick up, and we're all very excited at that moment. And when that deer came in, he just wouldn't give her that broadside shot. Thankfully, the deer ended up actually working his way all the way to the end of the food plot. He was over 100 yards out at that point. He turned, he went broadside, and her mom said to her, he said, "Sierra, you got to shoot. You're going to have to shoot." And it was like, that was that moment where she just, she settled in, and boy, she smoked him. And the mule kick was awesome, and we're just, I have this huge rush of excitement because I feel like she hit the deer really well. I couldn't have been happier. So it was an easy track. It was the deer didn't go far, but it was a great opportunity for Sierra to see the whole thing. The idea of we're gonna wait a little bit, we're gonna get down, we're gonna follow this track, and then the celebration at the end. You just can't beat that.
Wow. I'm so excited.
Dude, how do you girls ever gonna hunt again?
Another way you can get involved in furthering the hunting ethic and tradition is by participating in the Spring Fish and Game Hearing and Conservation Congress meeting in your county in April. Here are the current and former chairmen to tell us more.
The Wisconsin Conservation Congress is the only body in the nation where a state has in statute a citizen advisory board to advise the Natural Resources Board and the DNR, Department of Natural Resources, on all resource issues. It's a really unique group. It was founded about 85 years ago by Aldo Leopold, a UW professor who was the first person to look at science and applying that to biological use of our resource. So they created a system where there's 5 people from all 72 counties in Wisconsin that get elected by the citizens of their county to represent them on resource issues.
Next year is going to be our first year that we're going to have opportunities for sportsmen and women to give their input via online. We haven't had that before. We don't know what it's going to be like, but I'm open-minded enough to give it an opportunity. We're all getting older. We need that next generation to step up and be the conservation ambassadors. That's why we started the Youth Conservation Congress. Youth Conservation Congress was for 8th grade through seniors in high school that want to get involved with conservation and the shaping of our rules and regulations within the state.
Some mentors help people develop their passion for whitetail early in life. Others help people we call adult onset hunters, like our next guest, Dawn Zielecki of West Allis, who learned to hunt for food as an adult, and in fact she hunted right here in this orchard.
I have goose hunted, I have rabbit hunted, I've pheasant hunted, and that's all part of the Learn to Hunt program. And then in 2014, a co-worker of mine advertised a Learn to Hunt for food for deer hunting. And another coworker and I, another female coworker, and I decided we were going to take the class. And I was successful. Got my first doe. I was very excited. It was amazing. I was able to interest my daughter into hunting. We did pheasant hunting, and we did goose hunting, and we were both successful with that, and also dove hunting. My husband also started hunting again. He hunted when he was younger, and he did get his first deer when he was in his 50s. It was a nice October afternoon just like this. Brought my chair and my crossbow, and I got my blinds set up around 5 o'clock, 7 minutes before close. I saw the white tail of a deer coming to the right of me up to the apple tree, and my husband texts me and he's like, "It's dark, come in." And I, at the same time, shot the doe, and I jumped out of my blind because I knew she took off, and I'm like, I gotta find out where she's going. We were driving up the road, and I just happened to be looking off to the right, and there she was laying there. And I was like, there she is. I have no service on my phone, can't look up a video. And I'm like, I don't know how to do this. And he's like, well, just start very carefully cutting. So I started very carefully cutting, and I was able to successfully field dress the deer. It took me about, I would say, probably an hour. And then I took it in to get it processed. I like to deer hunt because then I have the venison, and I can make a lot of things with it, and it provides a lot of food.
This year's regulations are essentially the same as last year, so let's recap them here. You can purchase your license and select your antlerless tags, now called harvest authorizations, through the Go Wild system, online or from a licensing agent. With each deer hunting license, you'll receive 1 buck harvest authorization, valid in any unit statewide, and 1 or more farmland zone antlerless deer harvest authorizations, valid in the deer management unit and land type of your choice. You no longer have to validate a carcass tag in the field or attach it to your deer. But while hunting, you must still carry proof that you have a license and the appropriate harvest authorizations for the area you're hunting and the type of deer, buck or doe, that you shoot. Proof can be in the form of a Go Wild conservation card, your authenticated Wisconsin driver's license, printed copies of your license and harvest authorizations, or a digital copy of these documents displayed on a smartphone or tablet. For smartphone users, the DNR now has a new Hunt Wild app to make all these steps easier, even in the field. All deer taken must still be registered by 5 p.m. on the day after harvest, and you'll need your harvest authorization number to do that. You can register a deer easily online or by phone. Instructions are printed right on the harvest authorization tag. You may also register a deer at participating walk-in stations. Search for these on the DNR website, or look for one of these deer registration station signs. This year, the 9-day firearms deer season runs from November 17th through the 25th. The muzzleloader season runs for 10 days immediately following the gun season, November 26th through December 5th. And in 8 Metro Zone subunits, the firearms season runs through December 5th. Some Metro Zone subunit boundaries have changed, and there's a new Metro Zone in Eau Claire and Chippewa counties, and one in Rock County as well. Several of these units offer free antlerless harvest authorizations, so check the regulations for these changes before you hunt. The 4-day statewide December antlerless deer hunt will run from December 6th through the 9th, but only in deer management units that allow antlerless harvest. There's no antlerless harvest in Iron County this year. The antlerless-only holiday hunt runs from December 24th through January 1st in all or part of the 19 farmland zone counties shown on this map. To participate, you or someone in your party must have an unused antlerless harvest authorization for the unit where you're hunting. If you already have a place to hunt, you'll be interested in our upcoming forecast for your part of the state. But first, let's take a quick look at how to find a place to hunt on public lands all across Wisconsin. Most areas of federal, state, and county forest land are open to public hunting. Other public access lands include managed forest law and forest crop law lands open to public hunting, and voluntary public access lands leased for public hunting. All other properties are considered private land, and hunters must have permission to access these lands. You'll find public land open to hunting in the Public Access Lands Atlas, available in book form and on the DNR website under keyword Maps. Last winter was mild to moderate in most of the state. Antlerless harvest quotas were reduced in some northern counties, but for most of the state they are at or above last year's levels. Fawn production was good and bow hunters are seeing plenty of deer, so all indicators point toward another excellent deer hunting season. Here's a forecast for the upcoming gun deer seasons provided by DNR biologists from around the state. Mild winters, lower antlerless harvest, and plenty of habitat have led to increased deer numbers throughout the southern district, all of which falls within the southern farmland zone. With lower antlerless harvest the past few years, you should see a few more deer than last fall. The southern district has a wide variety of deer habitat types, from the wooded ridges and coulees in the southwest to the flatter urbanized landscape of Waukesha, Racine, and Kenosha counties, rolling southern kettles in the east, and the extensive wetlands and woodlands of the central counties. This variation in habitat types and conditions results in local deer numbers that vary from 1 square mile to the next. Deer numbers are higher in the western portion of the district, but there are good opportunities to shoot a deer in any of the district's counties. Chronic wasting disease continues to increase both in prevalence and geographic area. Recent CWD-positive animals found in Dodge, Milwaukee, and Washington counties have put into effect a baiting and feeding ban there. Within the southern district, baiting and feeding is now allowed only in Ozaukee, Racine, and Kenosha counties. Most of the west central district experienced a pretty mild to average winter in regard to temperatures and snow depth. An early spring snowstorm that dumped a foot of snow in most areas really didn't impact fawn production due to the warm temperatures that followed. Chippewa, Clark, Eau Claire, and La Crosse counties all made modifications to metro subunit boundaries, so hunters there should pay attention to those changes. A number of counties along the western side of the district haven't had a comprehensive CWD sampling effort in a decade, so this fall, sampling will occur within every county of the district. Cooperation from hunters in this effort is important if we are to meet sampling goals. Sampling stations are set up in every county with self-service kiosks and a network of cooperating taxidermists and meat processors. You should also be aware of new baiting and feeding restrictions in Eau Claire, Chippewa, Dunn, Buffalo, Pepin, and Trempealeau counties, thanks to a wild deer that tested positive for CWD in Eau Claire County back in March. The mix of agriculture and woodlots within this landscape provides excellent deer habitat with opportunities for hunters to take antlerless deer and have a good chance at a mature buck. Despite a mid-April snowfall that left up to 30 inches of new snow in some areas, most of the Northeast District experienced the 4th consecutive mild winter, and that led to strong fawn production. In the northern forest units, the buck harvest has been increasing over the last couple of years, and it'll likely increase again this year. Chronic wasting disease has not been detected in wild deer in the Northeast District, and the district's southern counties of Fond du Lac and Sheboygan will be conducting weighted CWD sampling this fall. CWD has been detected in captive deer farms in Oconto and Marinette counties and in 2 Waupaca County hunting preserves. The DNR will be collecting deer heads for CWD testing in Marinette and Shawano counties as well as in the adjacent portion of Oconto County. The deer herd in northern Wisconsin has been increasing over the past few years, and that trend continues this year. A moderate to severe winter killed some deer in the far north, but overall, the northern herd came through the winter in good condition, and hunters should have ample opportunity to harvest a deer this year. Area biologists anticipate a moderate increase in the buck harvest throughout the district, along with a pretty good increase in the antlerless harvest, thanks to more antlerless harvest authorizations and bonus permits in all but Iron County. An increased antlerless harvest in the remaining northern counties will take the pressure off young bucks and add to the potential of seeing more mature bucks in the woods in the future. A good adult age class of bucks is expected this year due to the previous mild winters, but antler growth is not likely to be as good as last year due to the late winter stress that can impact both body and antler condition. There's abundant public land in county, state, and national forests, and active forest management in most counties provides good habitat for deer. Areas of prime habitat are centered around aspen clearcuts, where regeneration provides excellent deer cover. Scouting oak areas can reveal excellent hunting opportunities as well, especially in the western counties where there's an excellent acorn crop this year. Chronic wasting disease continues to spread across Wisconsin despite efforts to slow it down. Here's Brian Richards, a biologist with the U.S. Geological Survey, to summarize what we know about CWD.
CWD, chronic wasting disease, is a fatal, neurodegenerative, contagious disease of North American members of the deer family. So in Wisconsin, we're talking white-tailed deer and North American elk. Chronic wasting disease is transmitted via uptake of infectious agent. CWD positive animals are shedding that infectious agent, or rogue prion protein, throughout their bodily fluids, including saliva, urine, and feces. So through close physical contact, including nose-to-nose contact, it's fairly easy to see how that infectious agent can be picked up by a healthy, naive, susceptible animal. So if you are doing anything, including baiting or feeding, which brings inordinately large numbers of deer into the same space and time, if one of those animals has CWD and is actively shedding that agent out into the environment, we enhance greatly the risk of transmission at those sites. In areas of southwestern Wisconsin, prevalence, or the proportion of animals that are CWD positive, has risen dramatically. In the north-central portion of Iowa County, in excess of 40% of adult males now are infected with chronic wasting disease. So you get into these older age categories, especially of males, and if you harvest a 3.5, 4.5-year-old buck, literally it's a coin flip as to whether this deer has CWD. Hunters often ask whether they should be concerned and what type of precautions they should take regarding the consumption of CWD-positive meat. The World Health Organization has been very consistent since the 1990s and recommends that no portion of any animal with a transmissible spongiform encephalopathy, including CWD, enter the human and/or animal food chains. The United States Centers for Disease Control also has published guidelines and recommendations out there for hunters. Their recommendations are that if you hunt in an area where CWD is known to exist, that you strongly consider getting your deer tested. And if that deer tests positive for CWD, that you should not consume any portion of that animal. One of the most significant precautions that hunters can take is with regard to carcass management. We suggest that they take carcass parts to a landfill. Make sure those parts end up underground as opposed to out on the ground where they constitute a disease transmission risk.
Clinical symptoms of CWD don't show up until late in the progress of the disease, so a deer you shoot may appear perfectly normal and still be infected. The only way to know for sure is to have it tested. And the DNR has stepped up CWD monitoring efforts this year, and you can help by taking your deer to a sampling station. There are sampling stations in the CWD-affected areas of southern Wisconsin and elsewhere in the state. Find one near you on the DNR website under keywords CWD sampling. The largest deer research project ever undertaken in Wisconsin is the Southwest Wisconsin CWD Deer and Predator Study. Now in its third year, the goal of this project is to examine factors that could impact deer survival and population growth in this area.
Goals are to put GPS collars on 200 adult deer every winter, and then every summer, spring, we put 100 collars on neonates, babies. Do this for 4 years and follow them through time and see what their outcomes are. We're studying predators and how predators and deer may interact. We did a big deer predation study in northern Wisconsin, Sawyer County, and then for this we wanted to include that. And the predators in southwest Wisconsin where this is taking place are coyotes and bobcats.
If you hunt in the research area of the Southern District, you may encounter deer or coyotes wearing ear tags and/or radio transmitting collars. These animals are legal to hunt, but if you shoot one, be sure to call the number on the tag or collar to report the kill and have a DNR staffer pick up the collar. Earlier in the show, we heard from both new and seasoned hunters who love hunting white-tailed deer. Here's a message from Dave Cook, an avid hunter who unfortunately is now struggling with a rare form of brain cancer. His comments remind us all to make the most of the time we have on this earth.
A year ago, last October 20th, I was diagnosed with anaplastic grade 3 glioblastoma. This is going to be hard. Been hunting since I've been a kid, and have been hunting, you know, nonstop ever since. And yeah, now with everything that's happened, you know, I still get out, and you can't quit living because you're dying. Live your life each day, enjoy what you like, and if you want to get out and go sporting clay shooting with Dan Small and kick his ass, do it. Whoops.
We can bleep that out, right?
No. We can use that.
You'll find all the segments from this year's show and more on the Deer Hunt Wisconsin YouTube page. I'm Dan Small. Thanks for joining us. Have a safe and successful deer season.